Hey everybody, welcome in. It's another Edgy Zoom and it's a Friday, so we're all in a good mood. Whether it seems like every day is the same or not, that doesn't matter. Darn it, we're going to lie and pretend it's an exciting upcoming Friday weekend, and looking forward to hopefully having a little fun this weekend. I am very honored to be joined by two well thought of guests, and the only reason they're well thought of is because they had nothing better to do, so they thought they'd join me on this. First of all, joining us from the Joliet Herald News Friday Night Drive, he is the one, the only Steve Soucie. Soos, welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Also joining us, you know him, you love him. He is my cohort, my partner every Thursday night during the football season on 1340 WJOL. And, well, he also obviously had nothing better to do today. Joining us, the coach, Joe Rodriguero. Hello, Coach.
Hello, Edge. Good to see all you guys. Yeah, it's a little cloudy outside, so I'm not by the pool. So this was a good time.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised. I thought we actually would have a remote shot of you at the pool with a drink in your hand and showing us the new deck and everything else. What's the deal?
Well, this is as close probably to the Wi-Fi in the kitchen. If I go outside, I might not be able to get you.
Yeah.
You know how Comcast is sometimes.
Yeah, I gotcha. Well, again, just thought we would have a little fun and throw some things around. So, Mr. Soucie, I will start with you. So today is the day we enter phase 4, I think. I don't know, between phases and stages. I don't know what the hell to think anymore. I think it's all kind of running together. We still are not in stage 2 of return to play, my understanding. We are still waiting for approval from the State Board of Health. Is that correct, as far as you know?
That's my understanding. We're basically still, again, in one of those gapping situations where we're waiting on State Board approval, which obviously the last time took a little while to get the ducks in a row again. So I'm expecting that it'll probably be on the same timeline the first stage was, which was they could have done it about 3 or 4 days earlier than they could have, and they were still waiting on approval. So I'm expecting that sort of timeline. I don't have any official expertise on that. That's just based on what we've already seen.
Well, again, I give IHSA a little credit this time around. At least they put their plan ahead of getting approval, saying, hey, we've done our homework. Now it's up to a state agency to figure this thing out and to let us know whether we can move forward. Your reaction when stage 2 came out, when it was released, Soos, I was really surprised at the aggressiveness going from stage 1 to stage 2. Happily to see the aggressiveness of wanting to make this next jump. Just your thoughts when it was released?
Well, I agree with you basically. I mean, in contrast, I thought that stage 1 was a little bit too stringent, and then when we got here, I was like, well, I'm not sure if maybe we want to make that leap that much. I know everybody's eager and everybody wants to, and I think I've said all along that I would prefer that Illinois not be the guinea pig for anything, and just allow others to kind of maybe be the leader in the forefront and then allow Illinois to adapt based on what they're seeing from everyone else. But it looks from stage 2 that they're maybe looking to set pace rather than follow it.
Yeah, it gives me encouragement that there actually is progress, and the coaches and the kids that I've talked to have said the same thing. Hey, at least we're doing something. And I know going into this, before any of this was really in place, and just talking to coaches, and Soos, I know you've done that. And Joe, you always talk to different coaches. I'm actually surprised we've progressed to where we are. Most of the coaches I had talked to thought we're probably not going to be able to do anything until August. And just the fact that there's an actual chance of getting some contact days in here before we hit that early August period, I think was an encouraging side. But I mean, how frustrating, and I'll throw this to you, Joe, how frustrating has it been, and Soos will come back to you as well on it, how frustrating has it been just seeing everything around us all of a sudden starting to turn for the worse now? So all of a sudden, all these states open up early, and we're sitting back here taking our time. now all of a sudden we're making real progress, and now it seems like everyone around us is starting to fall apart again. Frustrating?
Yes, but again, I think, Edge, and I don't know if Soos will agree with this, we see the other states, and we see, they're not social distancing, and I know with any type of sports, you have to, get together. I think what it does is make the coaches, and talking to some coaches, it makes them more conscious of the fact that keeping the kids in their little quads or whatever groups they can do, and making sure that everybody is trying to stay as safe as possible. I think in the other states, people just started getting together. I mean, and not doing the right things. I think our coaches in this area, and I'm sure, and again, we're going to have some cases. There's no doubt in my mind we're going to have some kids come down with this, and that's the next key question: what happens then? Yeah. But I think with these other states, as I said before, coming to starting earlier, we're seeing everything kind of collapsing around them, gives us kind of a guide to say, hey, let's keep it this way. Let's not do this. I know it's frustrating for the coaches and the kids, especially the kids, talking to some parents of football players that they're just conditioning and they're getting tired of that and all this other stuff that they want to start. And you got to take your time with this stuff. And the coaches understand that. But of course, being a kid and trying to play football and trying to, let's face it, knock heads and put a helmet on and start playing, it's pretty darn hard.
Yeah. Soos?
Yeah, like Joe was saying, maybe this is a situation where people are seeing some of the more extreme situations. And I'm not saying that there's a bunch of rogue people out there, flying by the seat of their pants, avoiding all the rules, but it would be, and maybe it's a hindrance to somebody going, I don't think we really need to worry about that particular element of the phasing back in here. Maybe it causes someone a little bit more pause in regards to playing fast and loose with the rules. And that's all that I'm about right now, is that maybe you don't agree with the rules as they're set out, and maybe you think that they're too stringent. But if you're wrong about that, the consequences are pretty dire. So for me, that's where I'm at when we're seeing that some of these other states are really struggling with this second wave or a recurrence of the first wave or whatever we're talking about here. Maybe that gives someone a little bit of pause before they say to themselves, this is too stringent. Let's roll the footballs out there and do this in moderation.
Yeah, one of my biggest concerns when all this went down at first, and I remember shooting a text to Matt Troha at the IHSA. I said, well, hey, Matt, good luck with managing the Civil War this coming summer. Meaning, you just knew ahead of time that this was this whole pandemic was going to wind up being Chicagoland versus everyone else, and it's certainly the numbers have played out that way. And you talk to coaches that are outside of Chicagoland and Central and Southern Illinois, and it's a completely different deal. And they'll tell you, I had an interview with Mark Grounds from Jacksonville, and he mentioned it was like literally going from one world, different world to another as far as all this is concerned. And I guess, was that a thought or a concern, Soos, with you when all this first started going down? Because let's face it, we just kind of found it kind of interesting. We just kind of got rid of district's idea. And yet you look at this, how this thing is shaken out. And if I'm in Central Southern Illinois and there's not a whole lot of impact, why aren't our kids playing ball?
Yeah, it's one of the things that I haven't been able to get a concrete answer on, but I actually was surprised when I had a conversation with Sam Knox about this, where he didn't totally dismiss the possibility of saying, hey, we could potentially say there are regions that can't play, there are regions that are, and those regions would potentially be allowed to play. That surprised me. I honestly thought that it was going to be 100% all or nothing. If certain member schools can't go for whatever reason, then nobody can go. And he left the door open, at least for that to be a consideration. He didn't confirm anything, but he left the door open for a lot of things. He left the door open for a potential season for teams that were in regions that could play where others could not, where there would be no postseason. It would just simply be regional games that people would line up to allow them an opportunity to play something if they were all good on all fronts. Those kind of surprised me.
Yeah. Hey, Joe, and I know you see this in baseball as well, but was there ever a thought in your mind, or maybe it's still there, of if we don't get closer to an answer, starting with football and certainly can spin into other sports, where we might start seeing more and more kids and families consider picking up and moving elsewhere to play?
I think if you are, yes, I mean, especially closer where we are to Indiana, which is an hour away from my house anyway. It's a situation where like I said, where we're situated, where if they're playing football in Indiana or Michigan or Wisconsin, that maybe some families, if you have a real good Division I player, Division II player that's looking for a scholarship, I think that would entice possibly parents moving out of the state.
Yeah, it's, you know, we've seen a little bit of it. I don't necessarily know if we'll see that continue. I mean, we with all the transfers, I mean, we see that literally every year at this time of the year anyway, regardless of COVID or not.
Right.
So Soos, I'll throw it at you. Where we're at now to where we need to be at the end of August. Number one, are we going to have a season this year? If we do have a season this year, I think my biggest fear in all this is that we start and then we can't finish. So where's it going to go from here?
You know, I think the most interesting thing in regards to that is going to see, like, what the general parameters are for when we do have a team that has maybe multiple cases of this affecting them. I mean, one isolated case or something like that, you do that. But if you have a team that has 6, 8, 10, especially a smaller program, I mean, that's going to affect their ability to even put a team on the field. So then what are you going to do? What are you going to do in those situations? So I don't concretely know. I mean, my percentage of whether or not I feel like we're going to have a season changes daily. I've went from having a really low percentage to being somewhat hopeful, back to the low percentage. It bounces back and forth for me. I'm still of the opinion that we might end up seeing a late start on the season and a potential late finish to the season. I mean, I still have a problem that I think that a lot of school districts are going to wrestle with. And I know the public league has done this for years, but a lot of the school plans that I've seen have school starting in the Labor Day area. And, you know, maybe that means that we back up the regular season a little bit. There's no law that says we have to play the state finals on Thanksgiving weekend. I think we all prefer it because it's what we're used to, but we don't have to do that. And I've talked to people in the IHSA about this, and if that's what they do, if that's what needs to happen to have a season, and we have state finals on December 15th, then that's what they're open to.
Joe, you still with us?
Yeah, I am. It just says, you got me or no?
Yeah, I got you audio, so you're okay. Up there you are.
Good. Okay.
Good, you're back.
No, it won't let me in now.
No, you're in, Joe.
All right.
So just keep talking. You're good. We've got you.
All right.
Your thoughts, what's going to happen here? Are we going to have a season, and just kind of how your thoughts are towards where we go from here?
You know, as a school teacher for at least one more year now, I've been thinking about the school year in general. And the way it's going in Illinois right now, I think the month of July is going to be the telltale. I really do, considering what we've talked about earlier as far as the other parts of the country and how it has redeveloped. With, you know, again, if it goes bad, I don't see us going back to school in August. It's going to be e-learning again, which I absolutely don't want to do that because I want to be able to see my students in case we do have to go back to it. So that's one thing. I agree with Soos. I think they should put the brakes on it a little bit and maybe start, as Soos said, after Labor Day. And really nothing's really written in stone about Thanksgiving weekend. It just seems to fall on that because of the way where the season does start. And again, I know we get some cold days in December, but we get also some great weather too in December. So I mean, it's hit or miss. You know, last year, Ed, you know, we did the 8A state championship game, and it was a brutal night out there.
And we were indoors.
Yeah, we were indoors, but it was raining inside our booth, though. Remember?
As Mr. Soucie can relate, we were inside the press facilities at NIU, but it was about a 50-50 proposition whether we were technically inside or outside. So.
Exactly. So again, I guess again, cautiously optimistic that it's going to start. They should wait and possibly play, starting after Labor Day. I know there's some colleges. I was talking to a few coaches, non-football coaches, and they were talking to some people where basketball schools during basketball season are only going to play conference games. So there's no 8 games or something that they're playing other schools, or they're just starting right away, maybe in December or maybe even January in the conference season. I don't know what these are smaller type schools, but I don't know what the big schools are doing as far as basketball is concerned. So maybe the IHSA or maybe the Illinois or the High School Association thinks about, well, I know a lot of schools like the Southwest Prairie starts right off the bat in conference play. Maybe they just say, hey, we're going to push everything back so everybody can get their 8 games in.
Yeah. Yep. Hey, okay. Joe, you still there? I don't know if Joe is still there. Soos?
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right, my guy Soos is still here. So, you're a Sox fan. I'm a Sox fan. Joe's a Sox fan. It's interesting how that one worked out.
Yeah.
But, so it looks like we have an MLB season. It is shortened. It has some interesting rule changes. I mean, as a Sox fan, just so unbelievably bummed how all this has gone down. Finally, this was going to be our year that we might actually have a product that's worth watching and a team that might actually potentially win more games than they lose and all the moves we made and talent. And, I mean, I guess I'm excited for baseball, but on the other hand, I'm still is this really going to count? And I'm nowhere near as energetic as I would have been maybe 25, 30 games added on. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm somewhat of a hardcore traditionalist, so wrapping my head around this 60-game season is something that I'm just not willing to grasp onto right now, because it's like, when they say the old adage about how, you have the games that you're going to win, the games that you're going to lose, and the games in the middle that decide ultimately what your team's fate is. Now those ranges are down to 10 games. Yeah. So it's like, I mean, you're going to have a game and it provided that we actually get going here, which I'm not 100% sure that we actually still will. Same issues are aligned with what we were talking about before that are aligned with here. But if we do, there's just going to be a game that in those first 10 games that bullpen blows a lead, and that's just going to feel like a magnitude towards the overall, where you're not going to be able to bounce back from that game. Possibly that could cost you the entire season. I mean, that's I was looking at some simulations of what they think it might look like, and there were 10 teams in the American League that were scheduled to finish between 39 wins and 32 wins and 35 wins. So, I mean, every game is going to have this mass feel of importance to it, where in the past you could lose 3 games in a row and not feel like you were gonna be done for the year. So that's what I guess stresses me out a little bit. Some people say that's exciting. Not for me. I mean, I enjoy the ebbs and flows of having a long stretched out season that allows you to kind of catch a groove sometimes and maybe have a little bit of a funk that you can survive. And I don't think that's going to happen this year. If you have a little bit of a funk, you might as well be done.
Yeah. And I mean, it's, the whole universal DH is something that I know our National League friends are not actually thrilled with, and they are a lot of those guys I know are traditionalists as well, and they do not want to see a DH. I mean, I'll be glad at this point. I'll be glad to watch anything. I don't know if how excited I'll be to see it go down, but I guess it's baseball and we don't have it. Well, it looks like we got Joe back. Joe, you back with us? Joe, are you there?
Got me?
Go. Gotcha.
All right. I listened to Soos, and I'm sorry about my computer. Like I told you yesterday, everything was off for 6 hours yesterday. But I agree. You and I talk a lot. Mike Kosierski, the batting practice pitcher for the White Sox, who was one of my coaches, he's been in Arizona since January. And the last couple of weeks when they shut everything down, I contacted him, and he was with Grandal. But there was about 12 to 14 guys there, and they were healthy. They all didn't have it and stuff like that. So, and he still doesn't. But again, they've got to be very cautious what they do when they get these players together. And
Joe, looks like we lost your audio there for a minute. Oh, Joe, my sweet Joe. Still struggling with the audio, Joe. We'll just keep you there for a second. I'll go to Soos. The last thing I wanted to throw at you before I cut you loose, and again, appreciate you guys taking time. But during all this pandemic, I think we're at least 100 days into this thing. What are you doing to occupy your time? And I know you have your various, as I like to call them, strange quirk things you love to do. You continue to put your own scheduling together, which is an amazing effort in itself. I'm sure you probably have projections already halfway done, depending upon the scenario. But outside of the work stuff, has there been a new hobby? Is there something you've picked up that maybe you hadn't been doing during this?
Not so much. I'm a big reader, and I've found that has occupied a lot of the time that I've been doing. I just recently purchased about 25 books from an online book server to kind of get me through the fact that my book pile had depleted immensely. I read a lot of stuff, and a lot of it tends to be sports history related stuff. That tends to be where I find myself. I read a lot of baseball books. Over to my right here, you'll see a massive bookshelf full of just about everything under the sun. So that's been where I spend a lot of my time. And then, of course, I, like you mentioned, spend my time obsessing over who's playing who in week 6. And like now people have hatched the theory of what happens if we play a shortened season, what would that look like? So I've been playing around with models of what that could potentially look like, and been doing some things in regards to that, trying to put together some things that I've always wanted to do and not had the time to do them before. Some of them work related, some of them not work related. So I think I've done okay with the time, but like everyone else, I have days where I get up and I feel like I just don't want to do anything for the entire day, and I do a pretty good job of executing that.
Yep. Joe, are you with us?
yeah, you got me?
Yes, sir. We do.
All right.
So let's talk what you've been doing with your free time, my friend.
Well, by the pool, of course, but like Sue said, I generally read a couple history novels during the summertime, but my friend in Texas started me on this CJ Box, the author here, of a group of books that I've been reading about. It's fiction, which I really don't like to read too much of, being a history guy. But these are interesting. It's about a Montana game warden and some of the stories that he writes. I've been reading those things. And like Sue said, it's just, sometimes you wake up and you just say, I've been at this since March, and it's like Groundhog Day. I mean, it's just, especially during the school.
Oh, Joe. Soucie was there. He was getting after it. We're starting to. Oh boy! All right, Joe. We're just gonna keep you right there. I think we're gonna wrap this up.
Things look a lot better around my yard anyway this year, if there's anything because of this pandemic.
Yeah, there's no doubt. There's been a lot of honeydew lists that have been knocked down and continue to be knocking down, and that's kind of what I've been doing with my time as well. But I'll be honest with you guys, and Soucie, you could probably relate to this. It has not been slow. Recruiting is kind of ramped up because kids and parents are freaking out about not being able to make visits and offers being pulled. So we've had a record number of kids commit over the past 2 or 3 months. So it has certainly not been slow here for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like it's been a, you know how it is. It's very fluid to begin with, but it doesn't seem like we're discussing quite as many kids not quite having a home or still deciding or things like that. A lot of kids have made what I would consider to be on the calendar time frame a little bit earlier decisions. So a lot of the more premier kids, I guess, the kids that are going to land at D1 schools, regardless of how this all would have played out, of kind of locked in now rather than maybe dragging the process out a little bit longer.
Yeah, and what's been interesting is the next level of kid is starting to commit now, and you're starting to see the FCS in states, the Illinois states, the Easterns, the Westerns, the Southern, they are starting to fill up classes, which just very seldom would not happen at this time of year. This time of year, these kids would be at college camps, and that's a whole other Zoom meeting we can do on that, the impact alone. Soos and Joe, are you with us there?
You got me or no?
No, we got you. We got you. Just kind of welcome to the world of Wi-Fi. It just kind of clicks in and out. I know how that goes.
Here we go.
As far as, you mentioned you're going into your last year this year of teaching, which is unbelievable because after this year I have to stop talking to you because then you are officially a senior citizen and you're just not cool enough to be around anymore. But, I mean, just as far as this upcoming season, I just don't know what to expect. And I don't think anyone does. I think that's interesting and kind of difficult as well. Is your approach?
Yes. I mean, I think of our area and, Soos would agree with this. And we talk about, like, for example, Lincoln Way East, and how much contact, all the coaches do a great job, but how is that going to affect our bell cow of our area? How is it going to affect, maybe Lockport, who I think we all seem to, that they're going to take another step, or even places like Joliet Catholic or Joliet West has a dynamic running back. How's that going to affect everything? And I think it's going to cause some havoc, as you said, Edge, and some trepidation by the coaches. Are their teams going to be ready? Because football coaches, like baseball coaches, never think, even if they had the full time, that our kids are ready, that their teams are ready to play.
Yeah. There's no doubt. All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up again. I appreciate you guys just taking time, and I hope to see everybody soon.
Yep.
I don't know if I will. Soos, I don't know when I'll see you. I hope it's sometime soon. But you guys stay cool and stay safe. And, again, just appreciate you taking time out of Friday to join me.
Thanks,
Soos, you got an awesome baseball collection behind you.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
There's more out of view there, but there's over 250 of them. So
wow.
You'll appreciate the ones that you can see standing on the top of that bookshelf over there. That's the 2005 World Series championship team.
Attaboy.
So
what are you missing?
That's where we're going there. But the other shelf on the other side has 88 of the top 100 home run hitters of all time. So that's been my I kind of got out of baseball cards, and I had millions of baseball cards when I was about 18 or 19 years old, and I traded them out essentially for the core of that collection. So
how many of the 2005 who are you missing?
There's a couple of middle relievers missing. There's 22 of the 25. I believe it's Luis Vizcaíno. I'm trying to remember who the other two are, but they're all the significance are there. All the starters are there. All the key ones are there, but there's a couple missing middle relievers.
Hang on one sec. Stay with me before I cut you loose.
There you go. Nice.
Those are tickets.
Excellent.
So, and I got all kinds of stuff laying around here.
I went to the only postseason game that the White Sox lost that year.
What was your fault?
Really?
Yeah, so that was my fault. I was in the upper deck so far away I could barely see the game, but I was responsible for the only game that they lost.
Nice. All right, boys, we'll wrap it up. Thanks again.
All right, take care, you guys. Good seeing you.
Thanks, Edge.